Burke has arrived in Spain. He is to travel ahead of the British Army, spying out the land and building up relationships with the Spanish guerrillas. And for these purposes, he's going to be disguised as a priest. The trouble is that he has no cassock. He discusses the problem with his sergeant, William Brown. Hill's ADC has suggested I might get one made. He says there should be seamstresses amongst the camp followers. William choked back a laugh. Bert looked at him sharply. It really doesn't seem that amusing to me. You know what a seamstress is, don't you, sir? I had rather imagined a woman who sews clothes. Well, yes, that's what they say when the army asks them what they do. But generally they earn their money on their backs, if you take my meaning. Bert looked embarrassed and annoyed, though more annoyed than embarrassed, and William took pity on him. I imagine at least some of them can sew as well. Just best be careful that if you offer them a needle, they know what sort of prick to expect. And he laughed at his own joke. Very droll, Sergeant. Perhaps I'd best leave negotiations to you. That may well be true, sir, but you'll have to be there if we're to be sure of getting something that fits. Bert reluctantly agreed, and the two of them set off together to find the women gathered on the edge of the camp. The area that the camp followers occupied was, as usually seemed to be the case, remarkably well ordered, given the bad reputation of the women inhabiting it. In fairness, Bert knew the reputation to be often undeserved. Many of them were the wives, or at least common law wives, of men in the army, and all the women contributed to the welfare of the troops by helping with cooking and cleaning, and indeed, occasional sewing. It was true, though, that many, if not most, of them helped keep body and soul together by providing, for consideration, the companionship that men on the march would be unable to get elsewhere. Bert was hardly a prude, but as he stood by, listening to William negotiating with the women, he found himself blushing at their conversation. He was pleased that he had left this part of the business to his sergeant, who was all too clearly comfortable with this badinage. Soon things were settled. William introduced Burke to Sophia, a comely wench who had attached herself to the army somewhere in Portugal. She's from these parts, you see, explained William, so she knows what a Roman cassock should look like. So she can start now. We need the wretched thing by morning. Ah. Burke did not like the sound of that. Ah. We need the cloth. She doesn't have it. Be fair, sir. There was the slightest tone of exasperation in William's voice. You can hardly expect her to be carrying a bolt of cloth with her just on the off chance. Well, that leaves us in something of a quandary, doesn't it, Sergeant? Don't you worry, sir. You can rely on me. Burke nodded. He suspected that he could. William's abilities as a scavenger were second to none. Burke settled down to wait, ignoring the half-heard jokes of the alleged seamstresses around him, while his sergeant vanished away into the camp. He was starting to worry when half an hour later William returned with the cloth. Well done, William. Where did you find that? Best you don't ask, sir. Bert looked at the cloth, looked at William, and decided not to ask again. It was very good cloth, and Sophia turned out to be a very good seamstress. She used a knotted string to make some measurements, and then told Bert that he could leave her to it. It will be ready for you in the morning. Bert rose to return to the officers he was to mess with, but William showed no sign of leaving. Don't worry, sir, I'll bring it to you first thing. You don't have to wait here, William. We can collect it in the morning. I'm happy to wait, sir. It will be my pleasure. Bert caught Sophia's eye, and she nearly burst out laughing. He pretended not to notice, and made his way back to where Jenkins had left him.